Thank you. Very good morning to everyone present here. On behalf of Sri Sairam Institute of Technology and All India Council for Technical Education, we are organizing 6 days virtual short-term training program on energy storage characteristics, surface treatment, durability, sustainability, and the microstructural evaluation of smart and base chain materials and its applications. This is a very great opportunity to interact with different people, and also we are able to know about the energy storage characteristics and its the related one, which is the need for the industry and academia. So this is a recent research topic which is very much useful for the people. So that we have organized this faculty development program for the benefit of our faculty members. So this is the AICTE funded program for 6 days. So we are conducting this program in virtual mode. So in this August gathering, I warm welcome Dr. I.A. Palani, Associate Professor, Mechatronics and Instrumentation Lab, Indian Institute of Technology Indore, for the August gathering, and is going to inaugurate as a chief guest for this program. Also, I warm welcome all the participants of this 6 days program. So this 6 days program, the program is going to be started with Dr. I.A. Palani, Associate Professor, Indian Institute of Technology, followed by the presentation of Dr. K. Palani Kumar, Professor and Principal, Sairam Institute of Technology. Then Professor Dr. A. Rajadurai, Professor Production Engineering, MIT, is going to present on a comprehensive technique of material characterization and electron microscopy, so that we are able to have the interaction with the industry and academia leaders, so that we have more interaction, and this will pave the way for knowing about the research and the development in the particular field. On behalf of Sri Sairam Institute of Technology, I warm welcome all of you, one and all. Now I hand out the session to Dr. I.A. Palani. He is the expert in the field. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the welcome address. So before we move on to the session, kind information to the participants. Participants, please make a note that this program will continue for the next 6 days in the scheduled time. So please log into that program in the scheduled time. So, and you have been joined in the WhatsApp group. You have been invited and you have joined the WhatsApp group of this STTP program. All the instructions and updates will be done in the WhatsApp group, and please make a note of it. And if you have any issues, you can contact the coordinators and organizers of the program. And the program will be in 2 phases. The first phase comprises of 150 participants, and the next phase is scheduled on August 10th, which will be again conducted for another 150 participants. And a feedback link will be posted at the end of the session in the Zoom chat box. So please make a note of it. And attendance is expected to be above 80%. And at the end of 6 days program, an online test will be conducted. So please make a note of these things. The information will be updated, and if you have any inconveniences, feel free to contact the organizers. Thank you all. Thank you. Now, I feel glad to introduce our chief guest and a speaker of today's session, Dr. I.A. Palani sir. Dr. I.A. Palani sir is working as Associate Professor in the discipline of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Indore. After completing his doctorate from IIT Madras, he worked as a postdoctoral research scientist in Graduate School of Information Science and Electrical Engineering, Kyushu University, Japan. He has developed mechatronics and instrumentation lab at IIT Indore. His area of expertise includes laser-assisted surface processing, micro machining, smart materials, and shape memory alloys. He has published more than 100 international journal publications, and he has filed 6 million. He has executed projects from different funding agencies such as DST, SCRB, DAAD, JSPS, DRDO, MHRD, a worth of 6 crores. He has closely worked with industries such as Volvo, John Deere, WABCO as technical consultant. He is a member of SPIE, Indian Laser Association, Institute of Smart Materials and Structures. He was a founding head of metallurgy engineering and material science at IIT Indore, followed by heading the mechanical engineering discipline at IIT Indore. Currently, he is the Dean Research and Development at IIT Indore. We are happy to have you, sir. May I request you to preside over this session, please, sir.
Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So, as far as I would like to thank my guru, Professor Kalni Kumar sir. Actually, I did my BTech project under him, so he was been as a mentor at different levels of my life. So, as far as this program is concerned. So this is a very highly interesting program, which is of high demand for the Indian context. So as far as in an Indian context is concerned, so if you see 10 years down the line, so smart materials was a big challenge. In fact, getting smart materials, the only option to get smart materials was from abroad context only. So nowadays, but now the scenarios have changed. Now we have our own manufacturing units over here in India, so which are directly dealing with smart materials. Even they manufacture smart materials at different levels, and currently India is more focusing towards these smart materials. In fact, one of few examples I would say, a National Aeronautical Lab, Pune, has developed technology of manufacturing smart materials, and it has been transferred to a government agency, Midani, where Midani is now giving a huge, in fact, it is manufacturing tons of shape memory alloys and smart materials for different research and industry purpose. And many other groups are also working on this particular line. So my talk will also be more focusing towards that. So if the group agrees, shall we start the presentation or? Hello? Hello?
Sir, is this
Yes, sir.
audible, sir? Audible, sir.
Okay. Shall we start the presentation now? Or
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So now I am sharing my screen. I think post the disabled participants screen sharing.
Camera மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் கீழ கம்மி பண்ணிக்கங்க சார்.
Okay.
Okay, sir. It's okay,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. I think the sharing the screen host has to enable it.
Yeah, 1 minute, sir. Sir, now you can try, sir. It will come.
Okay. Could you able to see my screen?
Yeah, yes, sir. Challenges in shape memory alloys.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So good morning to one and all present here. So the topic which I am going to discuss today is something related to challenges in shape memory alloy for different functional applications. These, as far as the shape memory alloy is concerned, shape memory alloy are a class of smart materials. Basically, if you see the family of smart materials, there are different types of smart materials which are available in place. But based on their different peculiarity, these smart materials are changed to different levels. Okay, so this talk will be more towards some of our own research work, what we have done in our laboratory with respect to shape memory alloy. Almost last 9 years, I have been working in the shape memory alloy. So as I have given in my introduction speech, that there are many challenges in shape memory alloy. So I will be discussing about some brief overview about shape memory alloys. What are the different challenges in shape memory alloys, and how we have overcome these challenges for our particular aspects. So if you try to look into the overall picture of it, so I'm just muting my 1 minute. Okay. So I'm just stopping my video. I think now you will be able to see my screen in a much better way. So as far as these smart materials are concerned, these are the complete class of smart materials which are available. So if you see, as far as smart material selection of smart material is concerned, two major parameters we need to consider. So one is our actuation stress, Another one is our actuation strain. So as far as this actuation stress and the actuation strain is concerned, these are going to be the main parameter which will be helpful for me to decide my smart materials for my applications. Okay, for example, like how you decide a motor for your application. So either it might be by torque or it might be by speed. So similarly, with respect to your stress or with respect to your strain, you can select the type of material. So in the current context, I will be discussing about this shape memory alloy, that is SMAs, so which I will be discussing in detail. So let me just go into a brief overview, like how a shape memory alloy works. You can see a video in my screen. So in this video, if you see, you find a lotus flower kind of structure. This lotus flower kind of structure is blossoming. So so this is blossoming because I am supplying a hot air to it. When I'm supplying a hot air to it, it is blossoming, and when I cut off this hot air, automatically it's come back. So basically, this material, from this, what we understand is this material is sensitive to heat, as well as in the meantime, what I would say is these materials has a capability. Hello. Yeah, these materials has a capability to respond to heat. In the meantime, it has a capability of biomimicking in nature. So that is one interesting aspect with this shape memory alloy is concerned. So you can train this material for any kind of biomimicking capability. Okay, so as far as this history of the shape memory alloy is concerned, so it is normally coined with the trade name Nitinol. That is nickel titanium level ordnance lab. What is why we call it as Nitinol. Okay, so commercially, when you want to buy the shape memory alloys, it is already termed as Nitinol. So this was initially found in the year 1938 in a US lab. So, but basically, it has its own history where when you try to mix gold with some kind of copper, even those materials can exhibit shape memory alloy. So as far as the mechanism behind this memory is concerned, so it is something like, let us consider I have an ice. I'm just heating this ice. I'm getting it in the front of a liquid, and then further heating it, you get a gaseous phase. Okay. Now, in other term, I would say that this is something kind of a phase transformation. So with respect to this phase transformation, so you are achieving the SMA characteristics. So let me just show you how a phase transformation happens in a shape memory alloy. So as far as shape memory alloy is concerned, you have the austenite phase, you have the martensite phase, which is in place. So it is something like switching between the austenite phase and the martensite phase. By heating it and by appropriate loading it, you get certain amount of variations coming out of it. Let me just show you with a simple video. So here, if you see, I have a shape memory alloy spring which is being kept over here. I am applying a load to it. It is deforming it. When I heat it, it's come back. Similarly, in the case of hot water based actuation, if you see, so in this I have a hot water. I'm just deforming the spring and I'm just putting the spring inside this hot water. Then finally it tries to crumble up and it forms a shape. So as far as this in the shape memory alloy is concerned, you have a martensite phase, you have a deformed martensite, and this is your deformed martensite. Now I heat it, it results in an austenite phase, and then it comes back to the martensite phase. So, so this is something like it's a kind of a cycle where you have a martensite to deform martensite. This is on a deform martensite. Now I heat it, so it becomes to the austenite phase, and from austenite phase it comes back to the martensite phase. Now let us go into some of its application perspective, how these shape memory alloy are being employed. So as far as in the shape memory alloy is concerned, so what we do is we will be training the system based on our requirement. Like for example, here I have a wire which needs to be actuated something like this, and when I try to put it in the hot water, it should come something like this. So for this, what should I need to do is I need to train it in a particular fixture, and I need to heat it in such a way that I am just switching between the austenite and the martensite phase. So I need to create a cycle between an austenite and the martensite phase so that it continuously remembers its shape. Okay. So there are different kinds of materials which exhibits this shape memory alloy behavior. So like NITI, CU, CUZNAL, CUALNI, and there are some FE based SMAs which are also available which exhibits the shape memory effect. Now, as far as the major challenge is concerned, see, for this training, so you need to have multiple number of cycles. In fact, you need, for getting such kind of structure, you need to train it for more than 50 to 100 times. That is, you need to heat it, then you need to quench it in a liquid nitrogen, then again you need to heat it and you need to quench it in. So this you are supposed to do for more than 50 to 100 cycles. That is very difficult. Okay, in fact, it is a time consuming as well as it is an energy consuming also. So if I try to look into the challenges in this particular field, so these are some of the challenges which I would like to put upon. So one is the tedious training, like we have seen in that even for a minor change in the structure, you need to go for a tedious training. Second thing is the composition, like we have seen that different material exhibits different types of compositions. So like NITA, CUAL, CUSRNAL, etc. So by changing the composition, you can have your tunability towards your functionality. So that is one interesting aspect. Third is, so if you see the video, so in that video, so there is an expansion of the spring, then again there is a contraction of the spring. When there is a continuous expansion and contraction, there is a chance that there will be some kind of oxide formation which gets deposited on the surface. When this oxide formation gets deposited, finally it ends up in failure of the system. So that is why we call it as thermomechanical behavior. Like in a simple term, if I would like to say, for example, you are getting a bulb from a LED bulb from a shop. So you should be able to know the warranty and guarantee of it. So basically, those are being noted down by simulating it for under a simulated condition, and from that we analyze it. So similarly, in the case of shape memory also, so we need to have a condition which shows that what would be the life of this shape memory. Fourth important challenge which I would like to talk about is, like in most of the cases, if you see, you commercially you get your shape memory alloy in the form of wire, spring, or sometimes sheets. Okay, it is very difficult to get it on a tailor-made structure. For example, if I want to get a tailor-made structure, something like this, it is not possible. So in those conditions, so for your research perspective or for application perspective, basically it restricts. So for that, you need to make an arrangement in such a way that you can make tailor-made structures. So that is what is one of the major challenges. So these are the 4 challenges which we have addressed in our laboratory at different levels, which I will be explaining it in my slide. So first, let us start with this major challenge, where making custom-made or tailor-made shape memory alloy structures. Okay, so the first one which I would like to talk about is something called as BIMORPH, which is nothing but a thin film. Okay, so we have developed a thin film shape memory alloy structures, and we want to use that thin film shape memory alloy for different applications. So like the motivation for us to start the work is something like you might have seen such kind of dragonfly structure in some of your farms, etc. So in this dragonfly structure, the interesting thing is you have a thin polyamide, a thin sheet kind of structure. This thin sheets actuates as a very high frequency, so that it initiates some kind of lifting force to the dragonfly. So if we need to design an artificial dragonfly, our major challenge is to develop such kind of wing kind of structure. So what we thought is, so we want to develop a similar structure basically for some kind of micro robot. So the major challenge in this is, so we went for a concept called as BIMORPH. So BIMORPH is nothing but 2 layers. Bi means we all know 2 layers. So it's a composite layer. So what I do is, for example, here I have 2 layers. So one layer is a shape memory alloy. The other layer is a small elastic medium. So what happens is, one way of shape memory alloy, so one way of displacement happens because of shape memory alloy, and the return stroke happens because of the elastic nature of it. Okay, so what I am doing is, I have a polyamide sheet. I am just giving a strain to the polyamide sheet by applying a clamp to it. Then I go for a deposition. So when I deposit it, after deposition, it gets a curved surface, and after heating, it gets something like this. So the deposition, what I use is a simple thermal evaporation unit. In this thermal evaporation, so I have the material which is being placed over here, which is kept on the board. I am just heating this material so that there is a vaporization. And here I am keeping a kept on polyamide. So this polyamide is made to, we are applying an elastic strain to it, so that when there is a heating is there, obviously there is going to a certain amount of deposition on it, and this deposition would be capable enough to give a thing. So in fact, I can just show you a small animation where you could see. So this is your SMA BIMORPH. So as far as in this SMA BIMORPH was there, this is on a heating phase, and when I try to remove it, it is on a cooling phase and it gets cooled. So that is the onward stroke happens because of the stress which is being induced on the thin film, and it is happening because of the shape memory effect. And when you try to cool it, the return stroke happens because of the polyamide which is available. When you try to induce the stress on the polyamide, so that tries to come back. So this is how we have achieved the shape memory alloy biomorphs. In fact, we have to do certain amount of detailed research on it to improve its performance for different applications. Basically, we went for 3 different applications. 2 are relevant to energy and 1 is related to micro robots. Okay, so as far as to investigate the energy, so basically we were just looking into the substrate effects, the substrate thickness, and then the inclusion of intermetallics to improve its ductility. So this is some of the structural analysis which we have employed. So this is a simple SEM micrograph which shows that the samples are plain. In fact, we did a XRD analysis to study the particulates which are available, and in fact we also did a small DSC and TG analysis to study the artenside and the martenside behavior of the material. So we made our own setup to study the life cycle analysis of it. So for that, what we did is we had a small fixture which is a programmable power supply, in which we used the CUALNI biomorph, and this is a laser displacement sensor, and this is the data going system. From the laser displacement sensor, the laser was falling on the CUALNI biomorph, and we were continuously actuating it. Basically, we were giving a pulsed signal to it. So when we are giving a pulsed signal, there were opening and closing, finally ending up in some kind of proper actuation. In fact, if you see, so this is a kind of life cycle we could achieve from it. So we have plotted with respect to temperature, time, and with respect to displacement time. So as far as temperature time is concerned, this is your heating cycle and this is your cooling cycle. So during your heating cycle, you get a higher displacement, and if I want to have a control over your displacement, I can just cool it. And this is your hysteresis plot, which confirms the SMA for an actuator. Okay, so in fact, we did a detailed life cycle analysis. So in this life cycle analysis concerned, so we went for a continuous displacement. So by changing the continuous displacement and by going for a heating, alternate heating and cooling, so we can go for a higher life cycle. In fact, our life cycle was basically relying on the substrate thickness. So we went for different substrate thickness, and we found that 75 micrometer polyamide will be highly helpful for us to go for a more life. Okay, so we went for some kind of contact arrangement, so that whenever this contact is being, so when you try to actuate it, the contact is closed. When you try to open it, the contact is being. So basically, we were looking for some kind of relay arrangements, micro relay arrangement for this system. Okay, next one, we also studied about the influence of growth temperature. Basically, like because you have a substrate, so this substrate plays a major role. Like for example, in the case of thermal evaporation, so this is your substrate, and this is your substrate which is being placed, which is nothing but a polyamide, and here I have a boat through which the particle is being evaporated. Okay, so where you have a SMA which is being placed over here. So what happens is I'm just heating this substrate. So when I heat this substrate, there is some kind of microgranule formation will happen. So this microgranule formation will enhance my wettability for depositing the SMA. Okay, so this concept is called as VLS mechanism. That is nothing but vapor, liquid, solid mechanism, that I am just heating the substrate and I am improving the wettability of the system. So in fact, we did a thorough DSC analysis to investigate the austenite behavior and the martensite behavior, because this austenite behavior and the martensite behavior is going to govern my actuation characteristics and its applicability of the shape memory alloy for different applications. So in fact, we looked into the recovery ratio. So how much is the recovery ratio, or how much is the curling characteristics which are being applied, how these curling characteristics are being employed. And in fact, we went on continuous heating of the system and to see up to how much life cycle the shape recovery was happening. So in fact, these are some of the life cycle behavior. So we included some of the intermetallics in it, such as Mn, etc. So these intermetallics are highly helpful to improve the life cycle behavior throughout the system. Okay, and as I said earlier, so this work we have used it for some kind of micro robotic application. So as far as in these micro robotic application is concerned, So the one major aspect is, like, for example, if I want to design a dragonfly with a shape memory alloy bimorph. So two major parameters which I need to consider. One is my frequency, and the other one is my displacement. So in a localized displacement, if I have a tunability towards change in frequency, that would be helpful for me to proceed further or to use it for some kind of micro robotic application. So major thing is, whatever material we have developed should actuate at the frequency what we require. In fact, it actuated. So that is the reason we went for different intermetallic compounds. So these are the different frequency which we have generated. So one is with 1 hertz, another one is with 2 hertz, and another one with 5 hertz. So 1 hertz, if you see, so this is your shape memory alloy bimorph, where you can see a minor actuation which is happening over here. So this is at 1 hertz, and this is at 2 hertz, and this is at 5 hertz. So at 5 hertz, you can see a continuous actuation coming out. Okay, so this is how we get a control displacement, so that we are going for a micron displacement in a higher frequency for these kind of micro robotic applications. Okay. Okay. Now let us go to the next one. Okay. So the next application what we were working for the shape memory alloy bimorph is for some of the transformer oil contamination detection. So as far as transformer is concerned, we all know this transformer blast is one of the major issue, because what happens is you have a coil which is being placed inside the transformer. So by heating and alternative heating and cooling of the transformer, so what happens is that oil gets contaminated. When the oil gets contaminated, there is a chance that the coil heats up the oil in a much better way, which may result in explosion. So the idea behind this is, since we have a material which is sensitive to heat, so what we thought is, we have a bimorph. So we want to put this bimorph in the transformer oil, and we want to employ a laser displacement sensor, and this laser displacement sensor is connected to an IoT module. So whenever there is a change in the contamination, there is going to be a change in the influence of the temperature. When there is a change in the influence of the temperature, obviously it will end up in some kind of variation, and that variation is continuously monitored using this laser displacement sensor. So when this laser displacement sensor gets actuated, like for example, we can set the limit. Like for example, if the temperature goes beyond 250 degrees Celsius, this IoT module will get triggered, and when this IoT module gets triggered, then automatically a sound can be message can be sent to the concerned lineman, so that he can immediately look into it. So this we have given it to Central Power Research Institute, so for some of the technology transfer analysis. So this is how an LDS works on the system. Okay. So the next case study relevant to shape memory alloy bimorph, which I am going to discuss about, is something related to a system called Johnson's heat engine. So most of you might be aware about this concept called perpetual mission. So this perpetual mission is nothing but you get a continuous displacement without any much effort. So in fact, it is against the second law of thermodynamics, but still it has its own energy conservations. So the interesting part in this is this SMA can be used for developing such kind of perpetual mission. Like in this case, you have a Johnson's heat engine which is available. So here you have a cold junction, and here you have a hot junction. So what happens is, here you have a shape memory alloy which is being available over here. Because of this variation in hot and cold junction, there is a shift in the center of gravity of the wheel. When there is a shift in the center of gravity of the wheel, so that will result in kind of orientation to it. In fact, if you see this video, so if you see in this video, so in this video you have a rim where a shape memory alloy springs are being placed. So in this, so what happens is, this is a hot water. Because of the change in the center of gravity, there is going to be a rotation. So like places like Rajasthan, etc., which are of high humid, you can use this as a energy harvesting unit. Like only thing is, you have a shape memory alloy rim kind of arrangement, which we are going to put it on near to an overhead tank. When it gets heated up, obviously it will rotate, and from that you can harvest the energy. So with this as an idea, almost we were working with a company called Volvo, which basically deals with truck. So in their arrangement, we want to go for energy harvesting application. So like we all know, when we just switch on any kind of automobile system, either your car or it might be your truck, at the bonnet, you can reach a temperature of around at the bonnet, you can reach a temperature of something around 80 to 130 degrees Celsius easily. Whereas at the exhaust, your temperature ranges to around 250 to 450 degrees Celsius in that range. So what we have an idea is, if we can fabricate this shape memory alloy bimorph, since already we have a bimorph, if we can fabricate this bimorph in the form of a belt, so that we can just put this bimorph in between, either in the exhaust or in the front of the bonnet. So like as far as in the range of 80 to 150 degrees Celsius, so I can go for nickel titanium based shape memory alloys. And in the case of CuAl combinations, so I can go from 250 to 350 degrees Celsius. So this can be used at the exhaust, and this can be used at the bonnet, so that you can harvest the energy and continuously you can tap it. In fact, we made an arrangement in such a way that we were trying to tap the heat coming out from the exhaust. So which I will be showing you in one of the video which I will be working on. Okay, so the next case study which we are going to talk about is something related to usage of this shape memory alloy structures for some kind of additive manufacturing system. So, okay. So, till there, any doubts or any questions from your end? Yes. Any questions or any doubts? Hello? 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 Sir, I am getting some kind of noise. Hello? Okay, so let us go to the next case study, which is something related to NITI shape memory alloy structures using laser additive manufacturing. So as far as in this case is concerned, so like we all know about this concept called Industry 4.0. So as far as this Industry 4.0 is concerned, so you have we all know that a machine-to-machine communication is called as Industry 4.0. So as far as in this Industry 4.0 is concerned, so you need to make the machine more intelligent. That means you need to employ more amount of sensors in it, and that sensor should have a capability to interact with the internet, so that you can continuously monitor what is happening. Okay, so like in this case is concerned, like I have a cyber twin, which is basically, it is a software based of machine, where from the different sensor which is being employed, so I will be getting the data, and from the data it will be fed to the manager to internet. Now, like nowadays we are talking about Industry 4.0, and we are in the process of implementing this Industry 4.0 throughout. So the major disadvantage in this is, see, like we have very old machines which have been serving us for a long. We cannot throw these machines just because of Industry 4.0, whereas we can refurbish those machines with an intelligent sensor, so that you can continuously monitor it. Okay, so as far as in this case is concerned, so we have proposed an idea, like we have a pretty old lathe, so we want to make it intelligent so that it can easily communicate with the internet. So what I am doing is, so this is the spindle, and this is a system which is available. So so what happens is, here if you try to put a tool in this, so that the tool will be continuously wobbling. Like for example, any machine tool, before it fails, basically when the tool tries to push it towards in the forward stroke, and before it fails, there is going to be a wobbling, and that wobbling will end up in certain amount of heat. Because of the heat, there is going to be a failure. So basically, whenever there is a vibration is there, vibration to heat, heat to a repair. So now, since our material is heat sensitive, so the idea behind this is, like I have a spindle. So over the spindle, if I could develop a shape memory alloy ring, okay, so that if I could deposit a shape memory alloy ring, because of the vibration which is happening, obviously there will be a huge amount of heat which will be generated, and that heat will be helpful for me to give certain amount of response to the shape memorialized structure so that it will try to tightly hold it, so that when it tries to tightly hold it, you are arresting the vibration in the meantime. So at this point is you are arresting the vibration, as well as what will happen is you are giving a signal to the infrared camera in such a way that from this infrared camera it will be fed to an IoT enabled module. So so it is something like it can give you an indication that in this particular time there is going to be a failure of the machine tool which is expected. Okay, so this is an interesting point with respect to an industry 4.0. But the major challenge in this is fabricating a customized SMA structure. So for that, so what we have employed is we are going for this additive manufacturing route. So so we all know about this current 3D printing technology. So as far as in this current 3D printing technology is concerned, like you are just melting the material and then you are manipulating it in such a way that you can get the required arrangement. So for our application, what we are going for is we are going for laser additive manufacturing of shape memorialized structures. So where we are using a laser source. So this is an arrangement what we have made, and this is the powder. For example, in our case, we are going for a nickel titanium. So this would be my nickel and this would be my titanium, where I'm feeding the powder through this nozzle. When I am feeding the powder through this nozzle, so what happens is by my powder is getting fused, it is getting heated up, and finally it end up in some kind of manipulation. So this is the overall system. Basically, this we did in collaboration with RRCAT. It's a Department of Atomic Energy unit, where we used a 2 kilowatt fiber laser system. So in this 2 kilowatt fiber laser system, what we did is we had a coaxial feeder which is available. Through this coaxial feeder, we were just feeding the SMA structure into it. That is an SMA powder through it. So through this SMA powder, there was a continuous feed, and then we fused these powders and we manipulated using this axis. So basically, I can just show you. This is the kind of SMA ring which we have manufactured. So these SMA rings can be easily fit into your quill or into your material, so that whenever there is going to be some kind of vibration, so this will try to arrest the vibration, and in the meantime it will actuate it and it will try to pull it up. Okay, so we went for different analysis. Basically, we went for laser additive manufacturing, fused deposition based technique for making these kind of SMA wires, SMA structures. But the major challenge in this is obviously, see, in this case, you are heating the material and then you are quenching it. So when you are heating and quenching, it may end up in certain amount of melting, and finally it may end up in porous structure. In fact, these are some of the porous structures which are available. But the good part with this system is you have a configuration to investigate the influence of change in composition. In fact, in our case also, so what we have done is we have changed our composition by changing the nickel titanium percentage, like NiTi 55, NiTi 50, and in fact NiTi 45, and we went for the different characteristics. So these are the different mechanical characteristics which we have employed, and with respect to these mechanical characteristics, we studied the ultimate stress and the elastic modulus. And the most important thing is, so we were concerned about the material behavior, basically the structural characteristics of it, because structural characteristics will give me an indication at which point exactly my SMA effect happens. Basically, so this is the B2 phase. This B2 phase will be helpful for me to investigate how the SMA effect happens to it. So, so I could observe a B2 phase with this additive manufactured shape memorialized structures, which would be helpful for me to proceed further. And in fact, we compare the results with the conventionally available NiTi shape memorialized structures, which is available in the market. So for comparison, we took the XRD and we took the DSC analysis. So this is with respect to the conventionally available, and this is one which we have fabricated overall. So as far as these fabrication is concerned, so where we could observe is the DSC effect. What we could observe is somewhat matching with the conventional available system, and almost whatever B2 phase which is available with the conventional system, the same B2 phase we could achieve. Okay, so this is an interesting aspect with respect to laser additive manufacturing. But the major challenge in this is, like as I have reported, so there was some kind of porous structures which were available. So in order to avoid these porous structures, what we are doing is we were just using some kind of post treatment. So like, since we are using a laser, we want to use the same laser for some kind of post treatment. So one post treatment, what we did is we went for a laser shock cleaning, and another one is laser annealing. So laser short peening is basically used to induce a compressive residual stress. And other one which I did is something related to laser handling, where I'm recrystallizing the structure to maintain the uniformity throughout the system. So those two things I have employed, and it was working fine. Okay, so these are some of the overall setups which you have employed for it. So as far as laser short peening is concerned, we just focus the beam along the area and we create a shock wave. By inducing this shock wave, we can induce a residual stress on the surface, and this is how we did a laser handling. And finally, these are the structures what we got. In fact, we went for conventionally NITIs are reported, but even we went for a trimetallic, that is kind of intermetallic systems where we used NITI CU structures. So by employing these NITI CU structures, we could get a proper super and a pseudo elastic material which we can use it for shaper applications. So in the case of shaper, whenever there is a vibration damper is there, for those applications we have been employed these systems. Okay, so this is differential scaling calorimetry analysis along with DMA analysis we did. So this is your DSE and your DMA analysis. So this DMA analysis will give me a better clarity with respect to my austenite phase, with respect to my martensit phase, and it will give me a close relationship. Basically, this will be helpful for me to select which intermetallics I need to use and to select and to optimize the parameter for different applications. Okay, so next one which I would like to talk about is, which is slightly an extension of this, so which I call it as smart grippers. So as far as these smart grippers is concerned, so this is a smart grippers which we used for an industry 4.0 system. So in this smart gripper, what we have employed is, so we have employed some kind of spline kind of arrangement. So already we have fabricated a circle. So in this circle, we have extended that circle with respect to a spline. So what we did is basically, so in this spline, so we kept an arrangement in such a way that when you try to actuate it, it gets in the form of spine. When I try to remove it, so you can directly get the object. So this is on an actuated state, and this is on a non-actuated state. So on an actuated state, you can grip it. On non-actuated state, you can leave it. But with my earlier case, I had some issues, because in my earlier case, it was good for basically, since I have used a laser-based system. So it was good for some kind of what I would say is some kind of pseudo-elastic behavior capability. Whereas for a proper shape memory alloy behavior, in fact, I did with different compositions, but it's better that I stick on to a particular composition to get the actuation effect. So what we went is, this is a system which we have made it in our laboratory. So this is a wire arc based additive manufacturing system, so which has been developed in-house. In fact, this system was completely built in our lab with a cost of 2.5 lakhs, where we used a MIG gun and we had a programmable controller with that. So with this programmable controller, so like you can just load your drawing in a 3D mode, and that 3D mode will be converted appropriate to a CNC code, and that CNC code will be fed to the manipulator, and that manipulator will be helpful for creating intelligent structures. So the major advantages in this is basically I was just feeding shape memory directly shape memory alloy wire inside it. So you have a rolled shape memory alloy wire. So using this rolled shape memory alloy wire, we were feeding it inside the system, and we were just melting it, and we were trying to manipulate it. So this is one animation. This is one video which will be helpful for you to understand how an additive manufacturing has been employed. So here, if you see, so you have a wire arc head. So this wire arc head, there is a continuous melting. So with this continuous melting, we could make such kind of spline kind of structures. So in fact, we went for a shielding gas, and we went for different parameters which are available over here. So the good part with this is each and every layer is controlled. And most important thing is, even we are exploring an option that your substrate gets heated up. With respect to your substrate effect, you can just study how your actuation characteristics change. Okay, so this is the structure which we have fabricated with shape memory alloy. So this is an as fabricated structure. So with VAM technique. So from that, what we did is we went for a wire EDM cut. Finally, we made a pseudo elastic NITA. We went for a training. So that is something like we annealed it to 450 degrees Celsius to 1 hour, and then we went for applying a training system over here, so that So we had a fixture. Basically, I want to have a spline kind of arrangement, something like this. So I was just training the system with respect to a spline. And then we were switching between the austenite phase and the Martensen phase. So let me just show you. So these are some of the XRD characteristics and the DSC characteristics to study the behavior with respect to research perspective. And this is the mechanical characteristics which has been employed. So we had a hot plate. So over the hot plate, we kept a graph sheet. So you could see a recovery which is happening. So almost we could achieve something around 80% recovery, which was equivalent to a commercially available system. So the interesting aspect in this is whatever shape you require for shape memory alloys for your applications, we can fabricate using this. So either it might be on thin film base or it might be on bulk base. So you can just do it using this. So that is an interesting aspect with this technology. Okay. So the next case study, so which we are going to talk about, or I would say the next challenge, which you are going to talk about, is predicting the life cycle and the thermomechanical behavior of the shape memory alloys. So as far as in this case is concerned, so like I have a spring. So I'm just actuating it, it is expanding, and then it is contracting. So when it is expanding and contracting, there is a chance that this may pull up some kind of oxide formation in it. So when it tries to pull some kind of oxide formation, finally these oxide will start encapsulating it through your springs. So when this oxide starts encapsulating it within your spring, so it will end up in, so there will be an opening and closing. So what happens is it will end up in some kind of failure. Okay, like in a simple term, I would say it is similar to your corrosion behavior. Okay, so I have a material where I am just heating it and cooling it. Basically, I'm giving a pulsating behavior to it. At one particular time, what happens is there will be a huge amount of oxide entrapment. Same thing happens with shape memory alloy. So even though it has a nickel titanium component. So for that, what we thought is we need to have a test bench. So this test bench should be capable enough to capture the life cycle of the shape memory alloy. Basically, like for example, I am manufacturing a strip. I want to study the life cycle behavior. Basically, I would like to know the failure analysis of those structures. So what we went is, so we made our own setup. So like as far as actuation is concerned, SMA actuation is concerned, I categorize my SMA actuation into 3 characteristics. So one is with electrical, another one with is hot water, and the other one is with laser. So like all the 3 will give a heat to it. So and the system is responsive to heat. So electrical is concerned, so we have seen like electrical biasing because of the H equals I squared R, you are getting an actuation. Second is with respect to hot water actuation. So as far as hot water actuation is concerned, so you are just dipping it inside the hot water. So there is going to be some kind of actuation characteristics, which will end up in some kind of rotation. And the third is with laser, which is quite interesting. So as far as laser is concerned, it is a non-contact and it can give a heat. Suppose I'm just thinking of this gripper inside some kind of environment where it is very difficult for me to put an electrical switch. Suppose I'm just putting up this gripper inside a thermal reactor or inside a nuclear reactor. It is very difficult for me to put up certain amount of electrical pulsating to it inside the chamber. So in those conditions, I can employ a laser so that the laser can hit the surface and it can actuate it, and it can be helpful for me to open and close the system. Okay, so let us first talk about this electrical actuation. So basically we made a small test bench. So in this, what we did is, so this is our SMA spring, which is being connected to a pulley overload. And this is a mobile mirror. This SMA spring is being connected to a programmable power supply, and it is being fed into a PID controller. So I'm continuously monitoring the temperature using a DAC with respect to a thermocouple. So I have a spring which is being placed over here, and here I have a mirror. So this is a simple Michelson's interferometer setup. So as far as in this interferometer is concerned, so by just moving the mirror, I can get an alternate dark and bright fringes. So I'm just tapping this alternate dark and bright fringes using this photodetector so that you can continuously monitor what is happening, and from that you can estimate how is your life going to get. So in fact, these are the results with respect to the life cycle behavior. So this is time with respect to displacement. So this is the load which is being employed over here. So this load we'll be changing this load, and from that we can study how the life cycle changes. Basically, this is on a heating side, and this is on a cooling side. So with this program power supply connected to a PID controller, good part is you can tune this heating cycle and the cooling cycle. So in fact, you can go for a higher frequency or you can go for a lower frequency. So in our case, we went for a higher frequency. We went for a lower frequency to study the systematic failure which is happening on it. The next one which I had talked about is something related to laser actuation. So as far as laser actuation is concerned, so you have a SMA spring, and one interesting aspect with this laser actuation, these are something kind of contactless energy transfer. So that is something like there will not be any contact of energy into it. Like in the case of hot water or in the case of electrical, you will be having a contact which is being placed. So in fact, maintaining the contact throughout itself is a challenging task. Whereas in this case is concerned, it's a non-contact base. We are just using a laser which is being fed into it, or the other option would be hot water. So what we did is we used a 50-watt fiber laser. So this 50-watt fiber laser was made to scan along the spring, and this is your load which is being placed over here, and this is your laser displacement sensor, and this laser displacement sensor is fed to a DAC, and you are continuously going to monitor it. So it would be something like this. So this is your laser which is being scanning on the spring, and we were just trying to monitor the temperature. So the interesting part is we were trying to look into its behavior throughout. Okay, so I will just show you a small video how laser-based actuation and its life cycle behavior has been analyzed. So this is what the load which you have used for it. In fact, here what we are using is we were just putting up an LDS sensor over here. So this LDS sensor was used for continuously monitoring it, and here you have a laser which is being placed over here. So this laser was made to heat, and then there is a lifting up and lifting down in the system. So the lifting was in few 100 grams and 150 grams, so that this lifting was alternative, and with this lifting alternative we could achieve the life cycle throughout. Okay, so this was the actuation behavior with the different life cycle. So basically with different power of the laser, we were trying to work on the behavior, like it was with 15 watt, with 20 watt, with 45 watt, and we were trying to study its life cycle throughout. In fact, one important thing what we did with us is basically we were trying to look into the heating and the cooling cycle characteristics, because as far as laser is concerned, so you can just have a control over the pulse width. So what we did is we went for a pulse width behavior. So by changing the pulse width behavior, we were trying to study the aspect of it. So so that you can go for a higher aspect ratio, and as well as a higher control over the thickness. So that was an interesting aspect with respect to this shape memory alloy structures. Okay, so the next one what we are going to talk about is something like the different various laser actuation behavior and its life cycle analysis in detail. And this was a complete heat dynamic analysis which we have employed it, and this heat dynamic analysis was capable enough in such a way that it was helpful for us to understand what would be the life cycle behavior throughout the system. So this is the setup which we have employed for studying the shape memory alloy characteristics using an hot water actuation. So in this hot water actuation is concerned, so what we did is we had a chamber something like this. Inside this, we just filled it with hot water, and we were just trying to actuate using this hot water. So this hot water was capable enough in such a way that you can just continuously monitor how it is happening, and we can just go through it. Okay, so this was a hot water actuation characteristics where you had a heating cycle and you have a cooling cycle. So in this heating cycle, you are just heating it. So this was the pulse which we are employed to it, and continuously we were monitoring it by just cutting off the heat and see how the actuation happens. But the major aspect with this is basically, if you try to look into it, there was a huge time delay lag because you are dealing with convection of water. So because of that, there was a huge time delay lag. But still, it has its own application towards what I would say is it has its own application towards this, towards some kind of Johnson's heat engine, or to predict the Johnson's heat engine behavior. Okay, so the next challenge with respect to shape memory alloy is welding of shape memory alloy, because we have seen in our earlier case also that we were just heating up the material. When we try to heat up the material, it ends up in some kind of porous structure. So what happens is there is going to be a change in the thermomechanical capability. Because of the change in the thermomechanical capability, so there is going to be some kind of effect which is going to happen. Okay, so with a conventional welding unit, so you can weld a shape memory alloy, but retaining its property is a challenging task. So that was the major challenge with us. In fact, that was one of our project which we had it with G. So where we had this is some kind of aerofoil which are available. So if you could weld this aerofoil in a proper way, so by continuously actuating it, you can have a control, or you can minimize the energy or the energy consumption on the aerofoil, and you can have some kind of flappers which would be capable enough in moving in a particular direction. So what we did is, so we went for a, so there are different types of welding aspects which are available, which are already been reported, such as laser welding, electrode beam welding, etc. But in all these cases, there was transformation characteristics were studied, but in nowhere we could see a visible actuation coming out of it, which was our major challenge. So what we did is we went for a friction stir welding capability. So as far as in this friction stir welding is concerned, you have a thin sheet and you have a tool which is being placed over here. So this tool is made to insert in a particular orientation in such a way that continuously you weld it and finally you end up in a proper joining. So this was the overall fixture design what we made. So we had a NITA structure and we have a tool which is being placed, and this tool will be completely proceeding towards in such a way that you can weld it and you can create a proper thing. So in fact, this video will show you a better picture how a friction stir welding works. So as far as in this friction stir welding is concerned, a plastic deformation happens because of a continuous movement of the tool, and finally you end up in a seamless welding which is available over here. The major challenge in this is we would like to see how the SMA effect behaves in with respect to it. So we went for a DSE analysis, and we went for a to study how where is the austenite phase and the martensite phase which is available over here. So this is a closed structure where exactly your weld bead is available, and we want to study the austenite transformation and the D-twin martensite transformation in detail. So I'll be just showing a small video where you could see. So this is your hot plate. So over this hot plate, I am just putting up the material and I'm just heating it, and here exactly your weld bead formation is available. So you could see your weld bead formation which is available. So without any issues, we could get a proper actuation and a proper heat recovery coming out of it. So that was one interesting aspect about this actuation studies. In fact, this is now we are planning to go for a technology transfer with them, so that you can minimize the load on the engine by having such kind of dynamic structures, so that this kind of dynamic structures is capable enough in such a way that it can underload your engine capability, and you can have a dynamic aerofoil to have a control over the direction. So we did some detailed analysis. In fact, we went for a complete life cycle analysis of these welded structures. So what we employed is, so we have kept a system over here, and we have kept a weight arrangement on top of it. So with this weight arrangement, what we were doing is we were continuously loading the unit, and by welding and by applying a heat to it, so we were trying to continuously study the life cycle behavior coming out of it. So here you see there is a kind of a life cycle behavior which is available over here, where there is an alternative heating and cooling, and there is going to be a martensite on an austenite phase which is available, and this martensite as an austenite phase is capable enough to study the characteristics too. Okay, so these are some of the challenges which we have addressed in our overall. If you try to look into a world perspective, so some of the challenges of shape memory alloys were there, which you have addressed into it. Let me just quickly go through some of the devices which we have fabricated with respect to the shape memory alloys, because now we have a capability to make tailor-made shape memory alloy structures. So that is one interesting aspect. So as far as in this tailor-made shape memory alloy structures is concerned, so now you have a freedom to work on different domains. So one is this Stewart platform. So this Stewart platform is a kind of a parallel manipulator. Basically, so using these shape memory alloys, we are trying to develop some kind of soft robotic structures for different applications, which I will be showing you some of the applications where we have employed into it. So this is a Stewart platform, which we call it as a parallel manipulator. So this parallel manipulator is mainly meant for orienting the beam or moving in a particular direction. So what I have kept is, so this is a Stewart platform which is being employed. So basically, I can just keep a mirror or a kind of prism on it, so that when you try to push into it, this prism or mirror can be moved in a particular direction so that it orients, finally it heats the particular layer. Okay, so that is one aspect with this structure. Second thing is we have also developed some kind of micro walls which are available. So like so this we have used in some kind of micro mixer applications, like in some kind of pharmaceutical industry is concerned. So I want to mix a drug which is being available. So here a drug is being pumped in this particular direction, so that you have a valve kind of arrangement over here. So through this the drug will be fed. The opening and closing of this valve is being taken care with the laser. So what happens is you can just put these mixers inside some kind of chambers, and the control over the system is being taken care in such a way that, so by just cutting off the laser, you can just open and close the wall. And by opening and closing the wall, you can just have a micro mixing capability coming out of it. Okay, so that you can mix the component and you can pump it out. Third one, this is a small DCV valve which we have developed. That is a directional flow control valve. So in this, what we have done is we have used SMA spring and we have used an energized spring. So we are just heating it with a laser. When we try to heat it with the laser, so you can just have a control over the flow rate. So initially the flow will be from A to B. Now when I try to cut off the heat, it may be from A to C. So these kind of flow controls valves have also been developed. So this is for one of the nuclear industry application which you have developed. Next one, one of the important case study which you have developed is like one of the problem which is used for some kind of developing aerodynamic structure. Like you might have seen a missile. So in a missile, so to orient the movement of the missile, so what we can have is normally it is embedded with composite structures. Like either it might be GFRP composite or fiber reinforced composites, etc. So what is our idea is to make this composite structure intelligent in such a way that we can just employ shape memory alloy wire inside it, so that these shape memory alloy wire are being fed into this composite structure. By actuating this shape memory alloy, you can have some kind of intelligent structures which is being placed over here. So this intelligent structure will be capable enough in such a way that you can have an intelligent actuation and you can have a control over the flow. Okay, so I'll be just showing you how we have fabricated it. So this is one, these are some of the methodologies which we have employed for fabricating this. One is training of the shape memory alloy. Second thing is inducing, developing a composite structure on it. So for training, so we went, sorry. So for training, what we did is, so we had a shape memory alloy, we just tried to change its shape. So we went for some kind of fixture arrangement and we tried to put it inside the furnace, and we went for an alternative quenching. So when we went for an alternative quenching, it was highly helpful for us to create some kind of, so you, based on your required geometry or your required reach, you can just program your material. So that is an interesting aspect with this. And this was the setup which we employed for controlling this composite structure in a much better way. So this was the different structures which you have employed over here. So where you have a fiber, you have a resin, and you have a SMA which is being employed. So inside this thing, you had a SMA wire and a tension which is being placed over here inside this tension group. So what we did is, so this is an arrangement which you have made. So here you have a SMA wire which is being fed into it. So you are just having an overlay method over here. So you are just using an arrangement of just winding it up with a strip, and then you go for a hand lay method for so that in such a way that you can fabricate this composite structure in it. Okay, so in fact we went for different configurations. So we went for a GFRP and fiber reinforced composites also, and we were trying to go for different orientation, something like this. So by changing this orientation, so you can have a control over the reach. So that was an interest. In fact, one of the reach, I will just show it to you. So this is, in order to get this kind of arrangement, I went for a coil arrangement, something like this. So in this, we have programmed each and every layer. So when we program each and every layer, you can get an appropriate actuation. And here in this case is concerned in a similar fashion, you are just applying the heat, and then by inducing the heat, you can get a complete life cycle behavior coming into the picture. Okay, so this was a kind of angle, theta angle, which you want to get it, and which we are getting it over here. Okay, so by changing the different configuration of the shape memory alloy composite, so you can go for any kind of theta orientation coming out of it. And in fact, we have a capability to look into its life cycle behavior of it. Okay, so we went for a different life cycle analysis. since it is for used for an aerodynamic structure, even what we did is we went for a kind of arrangement where we have kept it inside igloo box kind of arrangement, where we were continuously feeding a low temperature a liquid nitrogen inside it, and using this liquid nitrogen we were just heating it up, and then there was an actuation which was happening into it. So this was done at a low temperature environment. We studied the life cycle behavior. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, so now we are more focusing, in fact, I would say last 3 years, we are more focusing towards this soft robotic system. The soft robotic system is nothing like for example, you have your finger or you have your hand. So you can just have, since this shape memory alloy has a capability of biomimicking, we want to mimic a physical structure for its application. So one physical structure, what we thought of is an underwater system. So basically we want to mimic a fish, so that you can use for underwater surveillance, or you can use for any kind of other exploring the underwater applications. So in fact, in our laboratory, we have developed 2 different fish. So one was a cloudlife based, and another one was a kind of a jellyfish kind of arrangement. So first, I would like to talk about an underwater robot which we have developed. So where we had a fish kind of arrangement which is being available. So in this fish, earlier cases, motors were used, but the major problem with the motor is motor will create a noise. And most important thing is when the motor creates a noise, it creates some kind of turbulence on the thing. So your controller has to give an extra force, or your controller should give an extra care in such a way that whenever there is a buoyancy shift is happening, it has to take care of. So what we went is, so these kind of shape memory are bit silent actuators. So instead of, so this is your fish. So we want to convert this fish bone into a shape memory alloy structure. So this is the structure which we have made, and we have kept a shape memory alloy arrangement over here. By actuating it alternatively, you can have a forward stroke or a return stroke coming out of it. In fact, this was the complete skeletal structure of our robot, what we have developed. So this was an underwater robot where we have kept a plastic arrangement where our control system is being taken care of. And in between, you have a bellow to have a depth control, and you have a skin rubber to take care of the buoyancy. And this is your pedicle which has been kept. And this is your cloudlife fin, basically, which takes care of the propulsion. Okay, so these are some of the different configurations of fishbone arrangement what we have made in this. So here you have a shape memory alloy which is being arranged over here, and this is your fishbone arrangement. And these are some of the training characteristics. In an underwater tank, we were trying to look into the training capability. And this was a H-bridge relay arrangement which we were employed. So by alternatively applying the H-bridge voltage, so you can have a control over the spring. Like more you have the spring. So we were trying to connect our relay arrangement in such a way that by just giving the relay arrangement, we can have a forward stroke coming out of it. And in fact, this was the skin arrangement which we made. So this was a kind of a silicon rubber. So this silicon rubber were well cured using an UV treatment, so that you can wrap it along the sides of the fish, and then you can create a buoyancy. So this was the complete control schema which we have employed in our robotic fish. So this is the robotic fish which we have developed in our lab. So you can see the propulsion of a robotic fish. So these regions were completely being developed with a 3D printer. And this is an onboard controller. So these onboard controllers were further reduced in the form of a small PCBs, and these PCBs were fed inside this chamber. And this entire region was being wrapped with silicon rubber, so that you can maintain the buoyancy. In fact, this we did it in an environment in a small level for our test purpose, but the overall scheme which we have transferred to a CSIR lab to study, to investigate the buoyancy effect, to investigate along the depth. So the next one which we have developed in our lab is a small jellyfish kind of arrangement. So the idea behind this is this jellyfish seems to be kind of a real fish. So because in my earlier case, there was an issue with the buoyancy. Basically, to go for a deeper depth, there was some issues were there. So in order to overcome that, so we have made this jellyfish. So in this jellyfish, what we have made is, we have made a simple fin kind of arrangement, which is being embedded with PDMS and SMA wire inside it. So when you try to give, so these are completely programmed in such a way that, so when you try to actuate it, so it can go for, it looks like similar to your fish scale. And most important thing is, it is a transparent. So if you try to see it in an under sea condition, so you feel that as if a real fish is swimming into it. And we went for an onboard controller in such a way that we almost mimicked the same structure. So this was the SMA embedded PDMS flapper, which is being employed into it. So in fact, we did the life cycle analysis of this, because the most important thing is in an underwater condition, you have a huge amount of underwater current. So there is a chance that it may fail. So in order to avoid that, it's better to study how these underwater currents are being taken care with respect to the life cycle behavior. So we almost went for a detailed life cycle till it fails, and we investigated the overall picture of it. Okay, and this was the onboard controller arrangement where we have made. In fact, we also embedded a small sonar which can be. So this is one which we have submitted to a DRDO, which is under a final verge of granting, so that we will be going for a technology transfer with DRDO, and further studies will be employed in it. So this was an onboard controller. In fact, the entire testing capability was employed over here. So we went for an arrangement where we have embedded a SMA wire inside it, and this is an onboard controller which was fed into it, and we were trying to power this entire region from the battery. And one important aspect is concerned, so we are also trying to maintain the buoyancy. So in fact, this was an arrangement which was made, so where you have a power and you have an onboard control. This was a tether arrangement, but in fact, we were thinking of using a micro SD card in such a way that so that it will continuously monitor, and it can comes back so that you can record the data. So this was a complete biomimicking arrangement. So basically, we took a real jellyfish. We almost took the different nodes of the displacement of the jellyfish motion, and that was fed into this system. I'll just show you how our jellyfish works. So this is the real jellyfish, and this is our jellyfish which we have developed in our lab. So whatever displacement characteristics was there, the same displacement characteristics we have employed over here. So this was an interesting aspects with respect to the proposed jellyfish. Okay, so before winding off my presentation, so I would like to show a video presentation about the facilities in my lab and some of the projects which we have handled, okay, so that which can open up some kind of collaborations. So these are some of the equipments which are available. So we are specialized in laser processing, so and as well as thin film. So we have a flash evaporation, we have a DC sputtering unit, we have a pulse laser deposition unit, we have a E-beam evaporator, and some of the material characterization facilities such as the DSC, temperature control UTM. So since it's our mechatronic system, so we also deal with pneumatic system designs. So we also have wide varieties of 3D printer. So most of the components we manufacture it on our own. So this is the metal additive 3D printer. So these are the different structures which we have fabricated which are with our metal additive 3D printers. So this is one unit which we have developed in our lab at a low cost. In fact, this entire unit was a made in India concept. Like we got a MIG machine. From the MIG machine, we could make a complete machine tool, and this machine tool was developed only for dedicatedly for shape memory alloy fabrication. So if you want to make a thin structure, if you want to make a thick structure, anything can be fabricated using this shape memory alloy structures. So in fact, this is slightly an old video. Currently, we have made our arrangement in such a way that, in fact, a laser is also being employed. Like for if I want to make thin sections, I can make these thin sections using this. And we have also made an arrangement to have adjustable base. We have made an arrangement that you can have a control over each and every layer on. Okay, sorry. Okay, so in fact, this is one simulator which we have developed in our lab. So completely, these are 3D printed structures. So inside this 3D, you have a capability to apply the load, and this is the laser displacement sensor. So you can monitor continuously. Like if I want to study the failure mechanism of it, so this would be highly helpful for me. So that throughout the day, I can just monitor the failure. 1 minute. So this is a laser forming technique. So this is how an SMA actuation works. Laser actuation works. And this is a laser forming technique which we have employed in our lab. So the main idea of this laser forming is it's called as a die-less manufacturing. So without any die, you can just bend your sheets. So basically, we are a consultant for John Deere, and we are also consultant for GE. So with GE, we make die-less aerofoils with this laser forming technique using a shape for shape memory alloy bending. And another one is with respect to John Deere, we are trying to make some kind of engine cabinets out of it. So this is one laser shock cleaning, which we are doing it for WAPCO India Limited. So for improving the behavior of it. So this is one shape memory alloy composite structure, which we have discussed in our presentation. So this is one of our DRDO projects for controlling the missile orientation. This is a shape memory alloy Johnson's heat engines, which we have developed in our lab. So here it is something like only thing you require a hot water. So with that hot water, you can create some kind of energy. Okay. So this is a shape memory alloy BIMORPH demonstration. So this is slightly a closer view. So where you have a plate, and then you can just by heating it, it gets flattened it up, and when you try to remove it, it comes back. So the interesting part in this is on an Indian context. So we are the first to fabricate this BIMORPH, and most important thing is we have a capability to fabricate this BIMORPH even by 1 meter by 1 meter edge. Like if anyone wants this BIMORPH, I am ready to give this BIMORPH free of cost for some kind of applications. And this is one laser actuation of SMA BIMORPH. So we were trying to actuate it with the laser, and we are trying to see. So this is a SMA actuated shape memory alloy jellyfish. So which is our recent project, which we are working with DRDO for some kind of underwater surveillance application. So because the interesting part, what we observed with this is your radar, it can escape from the enemy radar because the noise which it creates is very less, so that it is a radar free system. And this is a interesting thing. So basically we are also into piezoelectric structures. So piezoelectric, we all know when we apply a load, it gives certain amount of power. So we are making some kind of lead-free piezoelectric in a simple solution technique. So we go for zinc oxide. So this is one student, so who is just pressing his pedal. There is no energy which is available, just because of the push, he could create a power which is used for some kind of catalysis work in his chemistry lab. So this we have developed, and we have used it for different applications. So in fact, one of our idea is to make some kind of flexible piezoelectric structures, so that these flexible piezoelectric structures can be employed in some kind of burglar alarms. So like this is a device which is available over here. When a person tries to stamp it, immediately the burglar alarm works. So here the interesting part in this is being completely embedded with zinc oxide structure. And this is a fluttering based device which we have developed. So basically here it is a piezoelectric. So with respect to your air, it is something kind of your flag. More the flag flutters, more is the energy what you created from it. So we made some kind of piezoelectric structure which we kept it inside a wind tunnel experimental setup. And in this wind tunnel experimental setup, we were trying to tap it, and we were trying to tap the energy throughout. And this is one machine tool harvesting unit. So we have kept a piezoelectric in a compressor. So when the compressor vibrates, we can tap the energy. So in fact, this is the kind of system where like you have a lathe. So in this lathe, you can just embed these piezoelectric structures. So whenever it vibrates, it can harvest the energy. So these are some of the machine tool sustainability we have employed. So with this, I would like to close my presentation. So this is my email ID. So for any kind of help or any kind of collaborations, I'm here to work upon. Thank you. So now the session is open for questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your presentation, sir.
I think there are some questions in the chat box, right?
Yeah.
No.
The participants are requested to interact with our expert member if you are having any queries.
So you can type it in the chat box so that I can just. Okay, so in case if you want to personally contact me for any kind of thing, so I am just typing my number on the chat box, so you can contact me for any kind of collaborations or anything, or if you require shape memory like biomorph, I am ready to provide at free of cost. Okay. I think there are no questions. I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Pali, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Participants, we just continue over section 2. Dr. K. Pali Kumar, sir, Principal, Systems of Technology, and also coordinator for this AICTE SKTP program. I request Dr. K. Pali Kumar, sir, Principal, Systems of Technology, will deliver his expert lecture in front of all the members.